Hello, for this video I will be fixing this holiday snowman. I happened to be shopping around one day, it was after the holidays, and this guy was in the clearance section. And the reason nobody wanted it was very obvious, it was missing an arm. But despite the lack of limb, I decided to purchase him anyway. I did feel a little bit bad for him. He was a good deal, he was less than $1, so I figured why not. I'll take him home and try to replace his arm and give him a little bit of a makeover. So that's exactly what I'm doing. For this quick fix-it project, my main material I will be using is epoxy-based clay, but before I can lay that down, I need a base to lay it upon. So I'm using aluminum foil to kind of recreate the missing arm, using the existing arm as a reference for size, just going a little bit smaller because I am planning to coat it completely in epoxy clay when it is finished. So I'm just using aluminum foil as my base and a little bit of hot glue to kind of shove it into that open socket of where the arm used to be in order to create my new arm. Once the hot glue is cooled and your base is in place, it is then time to add the epoxy clay to completely coat over the aluminum foil. Now with epoxy clay, you want to take an equal part of the hardener and an equal part of the resin and kind of just knead it together until the two colors become one. I do like using white resin as opposed to some of the colored options out there. I think it's a little bit more versatile, especially if you're going to paint it anyway. It doesn't really matter if it's, a color or not, so why not white? But I'm just taking small amounts and I'm completely covering over the aluminum foil. So no aluminum foil will be sticking out, it'll be completely covered in the resin clay. As I'm working with the epoxy clay, I do like to use wooden toothpicks and wooden barbecue skewers to kind of get that little detail in and to kind of get it into the nooks and crannies of the build. I'm also using them to get some slight texture in. As you can see with this particular figure, I do have to recreate some of the scarf along with the arm on the snowman, and the pointed part of the toothpick kind of helps me add that texture. Once it's completely coated in epoxy, I do go in with a hardened bristled brush and some water and kind of just smooth out overall the entire coated part of the epoxy clay, and this will help a little bit later on when I have to go back in and sand it. It won't be as bumpy, it'll be a little bit more smoother, and it'll save some time in the end. Once I was happy with the resculpt, I just let the figure sit overnight and let the epoxy do its thing and harden, so then the next day I could go back with the sandpaper and just give it a light sanding. Now with the sandpaper I also took off the glitter that was glued onto the scarf and the original arm of the snowman, because I am planning to repaint this whole figure as it is a mass-produced resin cast figure. They weren't too detail-oriented with the original paint job. You can kind of see on the red scarf there, they don't even bother going all the way to the end of the scarf. They kind of just slapped on the paint. So I'm going to spend a little time with it and completely give it a new paint job and focus on the little minute details of the figure. So here it is in its completed glory. Now with 2 whole arms, I decided to paint the scarf blue to make that cardinal really pop, and overall I am very happy with how this came out for a cheap less than $1 figure that I got on clearance. And that concludes this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I do hope it has been informative, just in case you're watching because you have your own little broken resin figure that you would like to save. Until next time, bye-byes!